What if I told you the lure you're throwing right now is completely invisible to 90% of the fish in this lake? Not because of the color, not because of the size, but because you're using a summer language to talk to a fish with a winter brain. It's the single biggest reason so many of us go home empty-handed from a cold water trip. Today, we're not just going to tell you to slow down. We are going to dismantle the summer mindset that is killing your winter fishing. We'll reveal why a fish's body in cold water literally can't process the presentations we love to use in the heat. Stay with me, because what you learn in the next few minutes will fundamentally change how you approach a cold body of water. So let me ask you this right now. Do you believe a fish's mood is the only thing that changes with the temperature? Let me know in the comments, and let's see if you still think the same way at the end of this video. For generations, the advice for cold water fishing has been boiled down to one simple phrase: slow down. And while that's not wrong, it's dangerously incomplete. It's like telling a chef to just add salt without explaining why, when, or how much. We get stuck in our ways. We tie on our confidence baits, the ones that smashed them all summer long, and we just retrieve them a little slower. We think we're adapting, but we're not. We're just a slightly slower version of our summer selves. The truth is, the fish has undergone a complete biological transformation. It isn't just lethargic, its entire operating system has been throttled down to conserve energy. Understanding this isn't just a tip, it's the entire foundation of successful winter angling. We need to forget what we think we know and start from the beginning. First, let's get a handle on what winter metabolism actually means. Fish are cold-blooded. This means their body temperature matches the water around them. When that temperature drops from, say, 80 degrees to 40 degrees, their world changes. Their heart rate slows way down. Their digestion grinds almost to a halt. Every single movement is calculated to conserve precious energy. Think of it like your television remote. In the summer, the fish has fresh, new batteries. It can respond instantly from across the room. In the winter, those batteries are nearly dead. You have to be right next to the TV, press the button slowly, and hold it down. The fish isn't being picky or stubborn. It's physically incapable of acting like it did in the summer. It's in survival mode, not feeding mode. Now let's contrast that with a summer presentation. What does that look like? It's often about speed and aggression. It's burning a spinnerbait just under the surface, making a wake. It's ripping a lipless crankbait through submerged grass, triggering a reaction strike. It's walking a topwater plug back and forth with a fast, rhythmic cadence. All of these techniques are designed to cover water and force a fish with a high metabolism to make a split-second decision. Imagine a fish in 75-degree water. It sees that fast-moving lure as an easy, high-energy meal that's trying to get away. It has the fuel in the tank to chase it down and smash it. This presentation style is a core part of our fishing DNA, and it's what we have to unlearn when the water gets cold. Here is the fundamental mismatch, the core of the problem. You are presenting an opportunity that requires a huge burst of energy to a creature that is doing everything it can to burn as few calories as possible. That fast-moving crankbait you're throwing. To a winter base, it's like watching a high-speed train go by when you're too tired to even walk to the station. The fish might see it, it might even register as a potential food source, but the energy calculation doesn't add up. Why would it spend 10 units of energy to chase down a meal that might only provide 5 units in return? It's a losing proposition. So it just sits there and watches your expensive lure fly right on by. It's not ignoring your lure, it's making a smart, biological decision not to waste its energy. Let's visualize the strike zone. In the summer, a base's strike zone can be massive. Imagine a fish holding on a log in 10 feet of water. If your topwater lure lands 15 feet away, that fish might swim up and over to investigate and eat it. Its strike zone is a huge circle, maybe even 20 feet in diameter. Now fast forward to winter. That same base is tucked into the same log, but the water is 40 degrees. Its strike zone has shrunk to the size of a dinner plate. Your lure has to come right into its kitchen, right in front of its face, and stay there. The fish is not willing to move more than a foot, maybe two, to get a meal. This is why precision casting and, more importantly, a slow, lingering presentation become absolutely critical. You're no longer searching for fish, you're trying to drop a meal right on their nose. This brings us to the most powerful tool in your winter arsenal, the pause. It's not just about slowing down your retrieve, it's about stopping it completely. This is what we call dead sticking. Whether it's a jerkbait, a jig, or a fluke, the magic happens when the lure does absolutely nothing. Imagine you've thrown a jerkbait. You give it one slow pull and then you just let it sit. You wait, you count. 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 10 or even 20. That motionless suspended bait is the easiest possible meal for a lethargic fish. Doesn't have to chase it. Can just slowly drift over and suck it in. As an angler, this is mentally torturous. We're wired to be doing something, to be moving the lure. But in winter, the greatest skill is the discipline to do nothing at all. Let's talk about lure selection. And the first rule is to downsize. That giant 8-inch swim bait that got you your personal best in June is probably not the ticket in January. Think about it from the fish's perspective again. Its digestion is slow. A huge meal is hard to process. It's like how you might want a giant steak after a hard day's work in the summer, but when you're feeling sick, you just want a small bowl of soup. A small 3-inch swim bait on a light jig head, a tiny Ned rig, or a compact blade bait presents a much more manageable meal. It's less intimidating and requires less commitment from a fish that is hesitant to eat in the first place. You're not trying to offer a feast, you're offering an irresistible bite-sized snack. Now let's consider the action of the lure itself. In summer, we want baits with a wide, aggressive wobble or a hard, thumping vibration. Think of a deep-diving crankbait that you can feel vibrating all the way up your arm, or a chatterbait that's just hammering away. These actions are designed to call fish in from a distance. In the winter, that much noise and commotion can actually spook fish. They prefer subtle, natural movements. Instead of a hard, thumping paddle-tail swim bait, maybe try a pintail or a fork-tail minnow that has very little action of its own. The Ned rig is a perfect example. It's just a little nub of plastic that stands up on the bottom. It does almost nothing, and that's precisely why it is so deadly in cold water. It looks like an easy, non-threatening meal. What about the role of sound? Many of our favorite summer lures are packed with rattles. Those lipless crankbaits that sound like a jar of BBs are famous for triggering reaction strikes in warm, dirty water. But in cold, often clearer water, that much noise can be a negative. Imagine you're in a quiet library. Someone shouting is jarring and unpleasant. It's the same for a winter fish. They are more attuned to subtle sounds. Sometimes a completely silent lure is the best choice. This doesn't mean all sound is bad, but you need to be more deliberate. A single, dull clack from a one-knocker style lure might be more appealing than a loud, high-pitched rattle. Think whisper, not shout. It's a simple change, but it can make a world of difference in your bite-to-cast ratio. Let's also think about water displacement. Every lure you pull through the water pushes a certain amount of it out of the way, creating a pressure wave that fish can feel with their lateral line. A big, double willow spinnerbait or a wide wobbling crankbait pushes a ton of water. It sends out a strong signal. In the winter, a more subtle approach is better. This is where techniques like the drop shot shine. The weight is on the bottom, and the bait is suspended above it on the line, moving ever so slightly with the current or tiny movements of your rod tip. It displaces almost no water. It's a ghost. It appears out of nowhere, right in the fish's face, looking like the most natural, vulnerable prey imaginable. You're reducing your lure's footprint in the water. Even your fishing line plays a huge role in this. In the summer, we can get away with heavy, thick line. 20-pound fluorocarbon or 50-pound braid is common, but in winter, switching to a lighter line is key for two reasons. First, a thinner diameter line allows your small, light lures to have a more natural action. It doesn't inhibit the fall or the subtle movements. Imagine trying to fly a tiny kite with a thick rope versus a thin string. The rope kills the action. Second, lighter line, especially fluorocarbon, is less visible in the clear water that is common in winter. Fish have a lot more time to inspect your lure when it's sitting still, so making the connection to you as invisible as possible is a huge advantage. Your rod and reel setup also needs to adapt. That heavy, stout flipping stick you use to pull bass out of thick summer slop is probably overkill now. In the winter, bites are not the aggressive, rod-jerking thump we all love. They are often incredibly subtle. It might just feel like a little bit of mushiness, a slight pressure, or like you've snagged a wet leaf. You need a more sensitive rod, typically one with a fast or extra fast action, to detect these light bites. A high-quality graphite blank will transmit those tiny vibrations to your hand. Without that sensitivity, a fish could pick up your lure and spit it out, and you would never even know it was there. You're not setting the hook on a freight train, you're feeling for a whisper. Let's talk about what I call the do-nothing technique. This is especially effective for crappie or trout, but it works for bass too. It's the art of letting the environment do the work for you. A perfect example is a float and fly setup. You have a small hair jig suspended under a bobber. You cast it out and you do nothing. You let the gentle winter wind and the subtle currents drift the float along. That jig underneath is just pulsing and breathing, looking incredibly alive without you imparting any action at all. It is the ultimate slow presentation. It takes incredible patience. You might have to watch that float for 10 minutes before it slowly slips under, but for a fish that wants the easiest meal possible, a fly that drifts right to it is an offer it can't refuse. The biggest change, honestly, is the one that happens between your ears. It's the mental adjustment. We are programmed to want to make things happen. We want to feel the lure working. We want to cover water. We want to get feedback. Sitting there and letting a bait soak for 30 seconds feels like we're not fishing. It's boring. We get impatient. We start twitching the lure, hopping it, just to feel like we're in control. You have to fight that urge with every fiber of your being. You have to trust the process. You have to embrace the stillness. Winter fishing is a mental game. It's a chess match, not a drag race. The angler who can slow down their own mind is the one who will be successful. Let's use a jerkbait as a perfect case study for this entire concept. In the summer, the cadence might be twitch, twitch, pause. With a 1 or 2 second pause, you're trying to make it look like a fleeing, frantic bait fish. Now let's take that same jerkbait into 40-degree water. The retrieve changes completely. It becomes one slow pull of the rod, then you reel up the slack and you wait. You let that bait sit perfectly still, suspended in the water column. You might wait 10 seconds, 15 seconds. I know guys who will wait a full minute between twitches. Think about what that looks like to a bass. It sees a dying, helpless shad just hanging there, an easy meal for the taking. The jerk gets its attention, but the bite almost always comes on that excruciatingly long pause. Now let's apply this to a jig, another staple lure. In the summer, we might be aggressively hopping a jig off the bottom, making it jump 3 or 4 feet to imitate a crawfish trying to escape. Or we're stroking a football jig, ripping it off the bottom and letting it fall on a tight line. In the winter, the approach is the exact opposite. It's all about a slow, bottom-dragging retrieve. You cast it out, let it hit the bottom, and then you just slowly pull it with the rod, not the reel. You're trying to maintain bottom contact the entire time, feeling every rock, every pebble, every change in composition. The jig is just stirring up little puffs of silt, looking like a lazy, cold crawfish or goby. It's a game of inches, not feet. This winter mindset even changes how you interpret your electronics. In the summer, you might be looking for schools of fish actively chasing bait balls on your fish finder. You see arches streaking up and down the water column, and you know they're feeding. In the winter, you'll rarely see that. Instead, you're looking for single marks sitting perfectly still, often tucked right against a piece of structure like a rock pile, a channel swing, or a deep dock piling. They look like they're part of the bottom. They won't chase. You have to bring the lure to them. Your electronics are no longer for finding feeding fish. They are for finding the exact location of a surviving fish, so you can put a lure right on its head. Water clarity also plays an amplified role in this slow-motion game. Winter water is often much clearer than summer water because the cold temperatures kill off a lot of the algae and plankton. This means that fish can see your lure from farther away, but it also means they have much more time to inspect it. This is another reason why a natural, subtle presentation is so important. Your lure needs to look perfect, your line needs to be invisible, your bait's movements need to be lifelike. In muddy summer water, you can get away with a lot. In crystal clear, cold water, the fish are scrutinizing every detail, and any little thing that seems unnatural can cause them to reject your offering at the last second. Now let's debunk a common myth, the idea that fish just don't bite when it's this cold. That is absolutely false. Fish have to eat to survive, even in the coldest water. They may not feed as often, and they certainly don't feed as aggressively, but they do eat. The anglers who say fish don't bite in the cold are usually the ones who are still out there burning spinnerbaits and using summer presentations. They aren't getting bit because they aren't speaking the right language. The fish are there and they are catchable. You just have to adapt your entire system to their slow-motion world. The problem isn't the fish, it's the fisherman's inability to change his tactics from one season to the next. It all boils down to a simple calorie equation. A winter fish is a master accountant. Before it decides to eat, it instinctively calculates the energy cost versus the energy reward. The chase, the capture, the digestion, it all costs calories. The meal itself provides calories. If the cost is higher than the reward, the fish will not make the investment. Our job as winter anglers is to tip that equation in our favor. We do this by presenting a meal that has the lowest possible acquisition cost. A small, slow-moving or completely stationary lure represents a high-reward, low-cost meal. It's an easy win. You have to stop thinking about triggering a reaction strike and start thinking about offering a no-brainer opportunity. So, let's bring it all together. The big takeaway is this: you must transform your mindset. Stop just slowing down your summer techniques. Instead, build your winter approach from the ground up, based on the fish's reality. This means thinking smaller with your lure size. It means thinking slower, incorporating painfully long pauses. It means thinking quieter, often opting for silent baits. And it means being more patient than you ever thought possible. You need to become the angler who presents the easiest, most convincing meal in the entire lake. When you finally internalize this, that you're not just fishing slower, but fishing entirely differently, that is when you will unlock the incredible potential of cold water angling. So, there it is. The aha moment isn't just about slowing down, it's about a complete paradigm shift. The real turning point is realizing that you're not trying to force a reaction out of an unwilling fish. You're trying to respectfully offer the easiest possible meal to a creature that is in pure survival mode. You're changing your communication from a summer shout to a winter whisper. This one change in perspective can be the difference between a season of frustrating, fishless days and some of the most rewarding catches of your life. The biggest fish in the lake often feed in the winter because there's less pressure. Now you have the strategy to target them effectively. Thank you so much for watching. If this video gave you a new perspective on winter fishing, do me a favor and hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed with the bell turned on so you don't miss the next one. But now, I want to hear from you. Be honest. What is the longest you have ever intentionally let a lure sit perfectly still during a retrieve? 10 seconds? 30? A minute? Let me know in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious.